How about now? Oh, I can't hear you though.
Oh, now I'm unmuted too, I think.
Very good.
Cool. All right.
Hello, everyone. Am I in the right meeting?
You are, I'm new. Mary Ann.
Not the crowd I was expecting. John Myers, but hopefully Patty. Hey, Dave.
Hey there.
Hey, but what? You're on another committee. Your name is familiar. What committee are you on? Or maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I haven't been on a committee for a very long time, but I get involved. I'm sure you see my name around on PV Forum or.
Oh, it's the PV Forum. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on the first website committee the town ever had 25 years ago or something.
I love it.
Great. I'm at my daughter's place, so we'll see what happens when she walks in the door here in a moment. It's going to be a little chaotic for a second. They're in the old schoolhouse, so I'm sure that what they're doing right now is fumbling around with.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How do you turn this on? You
Yep.
know.
Oh, yeah.
See,
Oh,
they're
That's the schoolhouse.
Oh,
right on schedule. Patty, are you there?
Mhm.
mm.
Well, they're still muted, so.
Right.
Oops.
Okay. Patty.
Yay.
It's the mute button. You got to find the mute button.
There, I don't just unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, we're having problems here in the schoolhouse. We can't get on the Zoom in the room,
Hmm.
so we may just have to go with this.
Looks good to me anyway.
Yeah. Look
This
good.
meeting, Patty, remember to say this meeting is being recorded.
This meeting is
That's what it
being,
says up here.
this meeting is being recorded, so whatever you say may be held against you, so just keep that in mind.
Zoom already told us.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Well, I think maybe we should just go ahead since we've got people on
We
Zoom.
should test the speakers.
But if we're not on Zoom, it doesn't matter because the speakers, it's the speakers through the laptop. Because these are through my laptop probably.
Oh, we all need to huddle together then.
Can you hear Karen now?
Yeah.
Yes, no
Mhm.
problem.
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's get cozy here, everybody.
We're gonna.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's gonna ask that question. Because last night we had to call the sheriff. We had what appeared to be a homeless person shouting profanities right across from our house, which is across from Jellick's. And then he was either pulling his trousers on or taking them off. We had to have the sheriff there. And my husband was very concerned that we're here and isolated. So
Well, we can lock the door if that would make you feel better. I mean, I have a
certainly would
key.
make my husband feel better.
Okay, well, I have. no
But I
problem.
don't know if people are walking in still. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's
but at a
true. It is
certain
supposed to be a
time-
public place, so we got Dave here. He'll tackle anybody that comes
So
in.
we just want-
No, I appreciate that.
Pushing, what do you call those carts, grocery cart. And he was passing the church and in seconds, must be a fast walker, he was at our.
I saw a gentleman today actually on Alpine Road with a shopping cart.
Okay, let's get going here. Gather
Yeah,
around.
let's officially.
Okay, it is it's past 7:30, so I am gonna call the meeting to order at 7:34. We have here in the schoolhouse, Karen, Dave, Carrie, myself, which constitutes a quorum here in the schoolhouse. We also have John Myers on the phone. So we have 5 members for voting, but a quorum. So just wanna,
I can't vote? So
you can't approve, you can't vote.
Oh, man. All right, that seemed wrong, but okay.
Just a member of the public until we get this darn Brown Act thing figured out, and then we'll be better. Okay, oral communications. Do I have any comments from anybody from the public for items that are not on the agenda? Okay, that would be a no. We're moving on to number 3, approval of minutes.
Sorry, Dave.
Karen, can you hear Karen?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Mary Ann's nodding. Okay, so
Yep.
a couple questions I have. One is just how much detail we want to provide, and the PV land acknowledgement. My recollection is we provided our feedback and we think the acknowledgement is just fine, but the concern is about reparations. And did we want to include that in the minutes? Question.
Yeah,
Because that was sort of the resolution that we came to. I thought-
I think I'm not sure I would call it a resolution, because I don't think we,
Recommended.
well, I think it was right, it was feedback that
Feedback.
we provided. I mean, is that something that the committee would like to reflect in the minutes?
Carrie, answer the question. I have an extra pen. So
Okay.
hand that down to Carrie. But
I mean, I personally don't. I mean, the fact that we gave Lucy our feedback to me is enough, but I am open to other suggestions.
well, I was just thinking in terms of
Transparency.
transparency, and if somebody's reading, they missed the meeting, and they're reading the minutes. You know, do they want to know what Parks and Rec's feedback was? That's my question. It's a question.
That's a good question. Do you have any, does anybody have any strong thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree that was. It felt like that was the consensus, was those basically 2 words in it. And then, but there wasn't, we didn't like make a show of hands or anything like that about it, so.
John, do you have any strong feeling?
I actually thought that was good feedback. I agree. I read it and I thought, okay, I think it's better to tell people what our feedback was,
Okay,
saying that we had feedback, and that was it, right? I think that 90% of it was good. Right, to acknowledge the history, right, of the area and everything. But, you know, what are we going to do about it? And it suggests that, you know, uses the word repair, which suggests reparations, which is controversial. We'll say.
okay.
Yeah, we don't have an acknowledgement anymore, do we?
No, we
No.
don't have it.
Yeah, it's on the back.
That's
It's on the back. Upside down. On the back of the, yeah.
And find ways to make repair, yeah.
Okay, so I'm hearing from the committee that they would like to add that to the minutes. Fine with me. Okay, all right.
It says we did receive a copy of the lease. I don't recall ever receiving that.
I got it in the email. I have it. Is that not a biblical we?
The royal we.
Is that the royal we?
Yeah, so that'd be the chair.
The chair. received a copy.
Okay, that's fine. Well, either that or I could just distribute it to everybody, and then the
Just say that
biblical
the chair
we would be the
Just
we.
say that the chair received.
The
it.
chair, okay, all right, the chair did not share. Okay. Okay, any other comments on the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve with those two amendments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes have approved and I will amend those as appropriate. Okay, we are moving on to new business. First item of new business is that we have Mary Ann. I finally remembered this month. Thank you for joining us, Mary Ann. And Mary Ann has submitted an application to join the Parks and Rec Committee. And it was discussed at the last meeting that perhaps we would like to have her join us and talk a little bit about what her motivation is and any questions that we might have for her. So Mary Ann, I know you and I have talked previously. Maybe you could just take a few minutes and talk about what your motivation is and why you are interested in joining.
Sure. Well, I've lived in Portola Valley for well over 20 years now. The first house that I bought with my husband, a year after pregnant with twins, they're now 20 in college. Both home at the moment for summer break. I've loved this community with all my heart. My husband has been very active. He was the LCA president, Ed Berkowitz, for the Ladera Community Association. He just retired after about 12 years. And I've worked at Apple for the past 15 years. And about a year ago, I retired from Apple. And it's now time where I feel like it would be great to contribute like my husband did to this wonderful community. I originally reached out to Patty and she can tell you more. I was inquiring about just assisting, and I sent in an application online and she reached out. And I think my motivation is first just wanting to contribute now that I've retired and I can do things that are meaningful, very meaningful to me and this community is. And I am an active, I like to go to the farmer's market. I enjoy what Portola Valley offers. I'm registering for pickleball for summer classes. And we've always had dogs. And one of the things I talked to Patty about was I had gone through the history of some of the meeting notes that are publicly available. And I saw that subject was raised a number of times. And I know that's not an easy one to tackle. But, Patty said that may be something that can be brought on the agenda again and talked about with this group, and that I can help with that. I think it would be great. I drive my dog way over to Mountain View Parks and all over the bay, but the stuff here is just open fields, typically soccer fields, and I don't really like doing that if we don't have to. And if there was a way we can have an official one closer to home, would be fantastic. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Any questions? I'm happy to answer anything.
Any questions from the
Yeah.
committee?
Yeah.
I think what comes up for us often is, we like doers on the committee. And maybe you could just talk a little bit about if you're a doer, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, and how you would jump in.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, happy to help in any way I can, whether it's, just monotonous stuff to kind of strategy planning to rolling my sleeves up and digging the dirt around the field that needs to be done to launch the event. Like, I'm happy to do it all.
Hopefully we don't have to go that far.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying was in product marketing for Apple, like I said, and I worked with cross-functional teams, always rolled my sleeves up. I'm really anxious and ready to I haven't really committed to a group. I've been doing a lot of travel, seeing my parents in Detroit. But now I'm kind of ready to kind of pick and choose and do some things here where I can volunteer and make an impact. Yeah, I'm a
You're a
doer.
doer. I think at Apple, you have to be a doer.
Yeah.
But one of the things just to be transparent is Mary Ann lives in Ladera. So one of the things that we did talk about as a committee is that officially, I don't think Portola Valley allows a bad word, considers, thank you, people from Ladera on certain committees. It's really up to the committee. But for Parks and Rec, we talked about it, and
That's
you know,
cool.
Ladera residents participate in a lot of our Parks and Rec facilities and pickleball and our trails and hopefully Zots and the picnic and everything else. So we decided that we would be open to having someone to Ladera on the committee. So just
Thank
wanted to make that in transparency.
Thank you, Patty.
Mary Ann, this is Karen. I'm not sure you can see me.
No, but I can hear you.
It's just how many hours a month, besides attending the meeting,
Yeah.
how many hours a month do you think you could contribute to the committee? Let's say we're working on the town picnic, or we're working on trying to get a dog park or whatever. What would be reasonable in terms of your volunteer time?
Well, like I said, I haven't really, I just do, you know, I could do as much as, you know, 10 hours a week, maybe more,
Ooh.
50. I
Oh.
could do that. I mean, right? I'm happy to do that if
Okay.
I need to.
Good, then you can be chairperson then, because I don't want to do 10 hours a week.
I don't know if this committee warrants that, but like, and I'm sure it ebbs and flows with the events and the schedule. So, you know, this is the first kind of thing I've really jumped into. So I'm glad to do it. And
I personally, it's not going to be 10 hours a week. I assure you, maybe the week before the town picnic or,
there we go.
you know,
For
the trivia event or something like that. I mean, you're right, it is. Before a big event, it's a lot of
It's a
work,
lot.
but
Yeah, I bet.
yeah, it's not 10 hours a week.
Good. Good. That's good.
One other question that popped into my mind is, do you see any possibility of sort of reciprocal privileges with Ladera and the events that go on there? Because they do some great things at the LRD.
Yes.
Have you thought about that at all?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm very close personal friends with the Bob Felderman, who is the LRD president. He's been there, I think, just for a couple years now, different from the LCA, which the community association that my husband ran. The LRD is the rec center, the committee. And, as you may know, they just finished the completion of their new pool, and they have lots of things going on from a event standpoint. And I mean, I'm in a great position. Hopefully I can be a liaison for this group. I think it's a great point. And I mean, I've got Bob's ear, and I think that I can't speak to kind of what their opinion is on that or the history, but I can certainly play that role and find out. And I know his intentions are really to be collaborative. I know his, approach is one that would be supportive of that. So I think that's a great opportunity, really.
Okay.
I have heard in passing, like some people in Ladera, like I take my dog to Woodland. A lot of dog owners do after school's out at around 5:30 and 6. There's this little window where it's a safe place to take dogs, and people do have a tendency I hear a little bit of the like Ladera, not part PV, not a part of like this whole, like, there's a bridge, like there's some, I think, mindset from some people that there's some division there, and that's unfortunate. Maybe we can collaborate with the LRD and do some of that. That'd be fantastic.
I keep thinking of Latter-day Saints, but that's not LRD, is it?
Yeah, right.
It's Ladera Recreation District. We're Parks and Rec, they're Ladera Recreation District.
We're not gonna, I mean, we could collaborate with Latter-day Saints, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be exclusive here. Any other questions for Mary Ann?
So the only thing I would say, first of all, I think personally, it would be great to have you. We need people to kind of get things done. I would think about what you want to do in terms of something you would own, right? Patty has the town picnic. She needs a lot of help, but what mostly for the town picnic you need is somebody who will own it, right? And make sure everything happens and tell people, pull people in to say, help me with this, help me with that. But ultimately, one person who is going to make it all happen.
Yeah.
Karen did a great job with the trivia night on that, and does multiple other things, right? I do Zots to Tots, which is kind of part of the town picnic, but I would think about that, because there's some things we were doing.
Speaking of dogs.
Speaking of dogs, this is my grand dog, Ella.
So darn cute. Oh my gosh.
Well, and I think John's point is valid. And also, we're always thinking of new ideas about things to bring the community together. I mean, unfortunately, the community has been somewhat divisive over some of the things that have happened. And we just had the trivia night with which Karen and John did a fantastic job, but we had 100 people in a room just having a good time and not thinking about what divides us. So
that's great.
I really think of Parks and Rec as just really bringing the community together. So whatever ideas you might have or you might bring about things that we could put on.
Nice.
I think there's a lot of things that we can do, and I'm open to new ideas and, new thoughts on that.
Fantastic.
Okay. I think that's it.
Do we vote? What
Do we, I don't think we vote because, we could, I guess.
I don't know what we do.
I don't know. I'm the chair.
Is that John?
What we do is we resubmit her application and say that we support it. So is there a motion that says that?
I'm not allowed to submit a motion or vote as far as I can tell, but
You can't vote, John. Yeah, you're not
as
allowed
a
to do
member of the
anything.
public, I support it.
Yeah,
Okay, so I submit a motion to submit Mary Ann's application for approval to the Town Council for Parks and Rec.
second. All those in favor? We have a unanimous vote here, Mary Ann, so we will,
Expect big things, 10 hours a week.
yeah.
Don't hold me to that. Oh, no.
I know.
So you shouldn't have said that. You
I'll
shouldn't have
never
said
live that down.
That was bad.
You don't, I'm sorry, you don't know him only.
Okay, so I will submit it at the next town council meeting, I think is next Wednesday. Not tomorrow, but a week from Wednesday, and it's typically just a warrant item, and hopefully we'll have you on board by the July meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Sure.
You're welcome to stick around and see how the sausage is made, or you can, no, you can't, because then you'd probably say, I don't want to be on that committee. No, there's no way that you could force me to be on that committee.
No,
Okay,
seriously, should I drop off? I don't know.
No, you're welcome to.
you're welcome to stay. It's typical. I won't be offended if you drop off. Trust me.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I am moving on to 4B, discuss Parks and Rec Committee input into the general plan and overall need to accommodate TV's planned growth. This was a agenda item that Karen suggested, and I'll turn it over to her for the discussion.
So a PV resident actually asked me what Parks and Rec was doing to plan for the 20% increase in population growth due to the housing element over the next 18 years. And given some of the limitations that we have right now, the suggestion was made that we strongly consider also, you know, I don't think this person was familiar with the fact that we are an advisory committee and not a
Decision-making
a
committee.
decision-making committee for the town, but I thought it was a good idea that we discuss as we get this growth for larger developments, say over 6 units, that the developer have some responsibility in putting together a park or a parklet and more facilities. I mean, we as a committee submitted our concerns in the CEQA that our parks and rec, our parks were going to be impacted by the population growth. And it was still put down in our housing element as minimal impact or no impact.
No impact.
And I just wonder if we, as a committee, want to go on record and advise the planning committee or the council that this is something that they should strongly look at and put something into place for the development of more recreational areas as we grow. And maybe it becomes new tennis courts, you know, or a pickleball. I don't know what it means exactly, except that the town, as we know, is having some fiscal issues. And this is an opportunity to look at the developers that are going to come in here and seeing if they can contribute in that capacity.
Yeah, now there is, actually, I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for that, Karen. I appreciate you bringing that forward. I don't know if anybody's read the general plan. If you have, I commiserate with you. If you have not, it's good for insomnia, but there is a portion of the general plan that deals with Parks and Rec. And it does say, and I may not be able to find it, but it does say that when there is new construction, they have to accommodate for some kind of recreational area.
So what I've learned is the general plan is a guideline
Yeah.
and not an ordinance. It's not. No, this is because there's certain things in the general plan that have been questioned, and it's been said that this is the guideline. This has obviously been a thing of controversy for the last year and a half.
Yeah,
But this
yeah.
would be something going further than just having it in the general plan. It would be, I don't know if it goes to the planning commission or it goes wherever to basically say, we need to put something that can be enforced. So I think it has to go into the general plan, but I also think it needs to go a step further if we feel that way as a committee.
Okay, discussion from other groups, other members of the committee.
Well, we excuse me, we talk about not having room for the things that we want now. So where are we planning on having these developers put something? I have no idea. And number one, do we even know where these developers are going to be doing any construction?
Well, they put in the recent housing element submittal where the housing is going to go.
Okay, then remind me where it's going to go.
Oh, well, I can't. There's like 10 locations.
Dorothy Ford Park is going to have 50 units. The
Well, I didn't
Sanford
think
Wedge
it was
is going to have 39 homes. Glen Oaks is going to have 16, I believe, 14 or 16.
Stanford
The horse
Wedge.
property
Oh,
across
yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
Sanford Wedge. Nathorst is going to have, I don't know what they settled
20
on,
or
but maybe,
24,
oh, I
I
thought it
think.
was like 11.
Well,
And
there's
then
two
the
separate
the property
Nathorst.
next to Willow Commons up to 24.
I thought these were just.
Oh, they
No,
all-
no, these are,
Well, they're proposed, but we have to plan to build them to comply with the housing
Right.
element. I mean, they can be changed. We have to find 253 units.
we are committed
Right.
to that, Carrie. Not
No.
committed, but this is
We
what we
have to
told
think
the
We're
Right.
state
committed to
That's right.
253 units.
To 250.
That is a plan to accommodate, that can be changed, but we are committed to 253 units. Yeah.
So that's what I would call the major developments.
Okay, so that's for our information on how to proceed with those areas having what you're saying is basically Parks and Rec of some sort,
Yes.
but nothing is in cement yet.
Correct.
Okay.
If I could maybe chirp in a little bit.
Sure, Dave.
Yeah,
A
please.
couple of the properties. On the Stanford Wedge, I think there's a couple of things. One is they do have some recreational space allocated. The other thing is, I believe as part of the agreement, they're going to take the rest of that property that has kind of been off limits and turn it into permanent open space with a trail and a fire road. So I think that's a net good thing, because right now it's kind of impassable and off limits. Similarly, the Dorothy Ford Park, they want to add a playground, which is not the same as an open space or a park. But, and that's just a straw man. I mean, there's no approved development. So that's just like an artist's conception. In those two cases, there's at least some awareness of providing some facilities. Although I agree, we're a big enough town, we have enough land that we ought to have twice as many tennis courts, some pickleball courts, and a dog park. We're not exactly Manhattan here, so you'd think we could find a place to put things, but I guess that's a separate issue. Thanks.
Now, Dave, I was born in Manhattan, Kansas. And there's a lot of room in Manhattan, Kansas. So just be
Okay,
careful
well,
about
there you
comparisons
go.
to Manhattan.
So
okay, well, we could, yeah, we could maybe move some of those acres here.
No, I don't want to go back to Manhattan, Kansas.
thing that I neglected to state is that the idea is with these new homes, we'll be getting families with young children. And so as much as a big open space with hiking trails is great, it may not necessarily cater in the way that the development should. I guess what I'm saying is that the people in the development and what makes sense for them. So I'm just discussing with you,
Right.
Dave. I forgot that part of this is also that the ideal is that the units, the big development would have families in it, things like that. So we
Yeah, and
just need
both
to
of
keep
those,
that in
right.
consideration.
Both of those developments have playgrounds. The Stanford one, you can actually see the map and the plan and all that, the Dorothy Ford Park, like I said, is just kind of an artist's conception because nothing has actually been written down for that. But the idea is it would have a playground probably next to the baseball field, is the Little League field is the current random sketch. But Stanford definitely understands that they're going to have little kids and they want a playground and a place for kids to play safely.
Right. Well, what I would say, and I guess as I'm talking, I'm realizing that I'm feeling pretty strongly about this, but so we meaning the town of Portola Valley does own Dorothy Ford Park, so we could control that development. But
Yep.
any other one where the developer owns the land, unless we have something in place that's an ordinance or a building code, we can't control it.
I think that's only half true. I'm not opposed to putting more language in place, but normally the town staff is directed by the town council to approve zoning and other ordinances that are in compliance with the general plan and its elements. So I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't something in there in the manifest ordinances we have right now. So I'm not sure we can't do anything because when a developer comes in, they still have to run the project by the town. But I'm all for, pointing out that this needs to be codified and all. I don't think we're gonna have a huge problem if we don't, but I think it'd be better if we did more.
Well, and I also don't understand the confluence of plans versus CEQA. I mean, CEQA, in my understanding, does have some requirements around land planning. Now, I'm not professing to be know what I'm talking about, but I do remember conversations about when a project comes up, has to go through the CEQA review, which then has to comply with certain land and environmental, situation. I don't know.
Well, and I don't think that we need to know that. I think we need to decide if we think it's something we want to recommend, say, to the planning commission or to the council to really review and do. It's really something like that.
Okay.
And maybe they'll come back and say it's already in the code. And that's great. I don't know the answer to that.
John, I haven't heard from you. You can talk, but you can't vote.
Well, my view of this is that, first of all, the plan has been submitted, so I'm not sure how much we, influence right this moment, though I'm sure through the planning commission, we can affect things. If we need to add more my personal view is that if we needed to add more housing, I wish we would have figured out how to do that and add more parks and recreation, rather than what I think really ended up happening, which was to put Ford Field and Dorothy Ford Park on the table as a site for additional housing. And I think the reason that happened is because people didn't want to put more housing near their house because of their own impact on their own housing prices. So I wish we could have figured out how to just expanded our parks and recreation. We have more people, we need more parks and recreation, not less, right?
Which is one of the reasons we oppose the response in the
Right.
IMD.
But there was negative, yeah.
There was no impact.
Mhm,
And we said there would be impact.
mhm.
You had 753 people for Portola Valley. It's gonna impact your tennis courts, your soccer fields, your playgrounds, et cetera. And we're already getting, as you can see on the agenda, requests for expanding our Little People's Park
Right.
to accommodate, more kids. So my thought is, I think it's a great idea. I think potentially we could run it up the flagpole, and to your point, all I can do is say no. But at least it makes it visible to those that Parks and Rec is concerned about our facilities going forward as we add more people to the town. So that's my
Okay,
thought.
let's just take a look. I think you're right. Absolutely right.
Carrie thinks I'm right.
Yeah.
Mark that
Do
down.
do we vote or do we want to draft?
I think we have to
something?
draft something. I think we don't, I think all we talk about is that there's general agreement that we want to move forward with it. And we need a volunteer to draft something.
I will volunteer to do that since I brought it up.
Thank you, Karen.
We also want to consider adding language about for our rejection of the minimal impact about defending the existing parks and recs we have for future developments, or no? The ship sailed.
I think we can point out, this is up to Karen. I think we can point out that we do believe there's going to be an impact on Parks and Rec. And that therefore we're concerned about that. And this is one of the reasons that we're drafting this. That's how I would connect the two.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's a really good idea, actually. Just use that as a background for.
Yeah, no, I agree. We've already documented our opposition. Yeah. You think we can answer it?
Well, if I draft something, am I allowed to send it to all of you for review? Or
No,
do we have to wait till the next
you
meeting?
have to wait.
Okay.
You can send it to one
To
other
one
person.
person.
You can send it to
Yeah,
one other
Yeah,
person.
I just didn't know. Okay,
No,
okay.
Oh, no, like send draft A to you and then draft B to me, then draft
That's
C.
called the daisy chain. That's what I remember.
don't get me into trouble here, Dave.
All right. so
I'm
I-
fighting it for us to be
I will
non-Brown
file
Act,
the
but
First draft.
it hasn't happened yet. Okay, great.
But we will have.
We'll have it in
We'll
the
have the agenda, so like,
for
we
the
don't have
next
to read
meeting.
it cold after the
Correct,
meeting. Great,
Correct. Yes,
that's.
yes.
Okay. Thank you, Karen, for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Okay. The next one, oh, sorry, John, I left out Zots on here. I apologize. New business 4C. Our next big event coming up is we have to start thinking about planning for the town picnic and Zots. Sorry, John.
So it's two tots.
I was
I-
kind of thinking of it as all part of the same day.
I know, but
Yeah.
I want to give you some credit here.
Mary Ann is listening.
Mary Ann is listening. 10 hours she's got here. Okay, the town picnic in Zotz is currently scheduled for Saturday, September 23rd. Beth's birthday. So John is in the doghouse right
She's
now.
listening, by the way, she's here.
Is she here? Sorry,
Bye-bye.
Beth.
Yes. She's,
It's okay.
Have a glass of wine, Beth. You'll be fine.
Labor Day is the 4th. Labor Day is the 4th.
Yeah.
Or just kind of.
Okay, so planning. Now I wish Sarah would have been here. She's not. I don't know how many people listened to the town council meeting last Wednesday night. But they talked very extensively about the budget. As everybody knows, it's going to be a very tough budget year. We submitted a budget of $30,000, which was a little increase over, I think I could pull it up. We spent about 24,000 this year. We increased a little bit because we thought we would have more trivia nights and things like that. I didn't stay till the end of the meeting. What I did hear though, when I was talking about it, is that there was some discussion of freezing the budget and all spending until we could find the necessary avenues, for lack of a better word, to balance the budget. And we're about $1.5 million. No, freezing mean, and Dave, I don't know if you stayed till the end of the meeting, but Craig, at one point, I don't mean to pin it on Craig, but he was the one that talked about it, is he said, tell the committees they can't spend any money until we balance the budget. So I was hoping Sarah was going to be here to give us some guidance, because on the town picnic, if we get started, I mean, we have to start renting the furniture, getting the petting zoo. If we're going to get a band, you know, we have to think about Zotz, hats. I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to spend 3 to 4 months ahead of the picnic to make it run. And literally, I was going to start doing that next week. So I guess what I'll do is call Sarah offline and just see what we can and can't do. So I just wanted to bring that up so people were aware of that.
Yeah, I did stay till I stayed till the end. Not sure why, but
Because you're a glutton for punishment.
yeah, apparently. I would say there, first of all, they didn't make any decisions, which is not the first time. So they instructed the staff to come back with a series of recommendations. And like you said, they range from, quote, freezing the budgets at the current level, not freezing the budgets, but telling people not to spend money on things until they needed to, making some cuts, like our buddies Ray and Dale will be really pleased to hear that they decided it would be really easy to punt on moving the radio antenna again. And then stuff like that. So I don't think there's a clear path forward, although if you can keep, my gut says if you can keep your expenses that you're committing to the level you spent last year, that's probably as close as you need to get for now. And then, you know, maybe you can't have any trivia nights later in the year if you only get to 24,000 instead of 31,000, but who knows? I mean, I wouldn't bet money on, you know, Mary wanted to give the committees that have never had money some money because they've never had money, which isn't really a priority ranking. So it's kind of was all over the map.
Yeah, and what frustrates me, I'm sorry, Carol, what frustrates me, I mean, the total budget of the town for all committees is $114,000.
Yep.
The total budget shortfall that we have is $1.5 million. So you could cut the budgets of the committees in half and still not, I mean, get anywhere near. So that frustrated me a little bit, but
I think the council has already approved the town picnic for this year. So if they've approved the town picnic,
I don't know,
haven't they approved the date? And John, you had to work on getting the date approved, right?
well, the staff
The staff approved it?
agreed. I don't think that means they approve the spending.
Okay, all right. I'll retract my statement. My feeling was I think this is this a given? So when they are talking about freezing things, this may be something that is just, we can't spend more than last year, but go ahead and.
That's
do
what
it.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping. I mean, I completely agree that they're not gonna do away with the town picnic. It's just a question of
Okay.
how much we spend.
Okay.
But again, I have to start committing, or we have to start committing within the next couple of weeks. And when we rent the furniture, they want 50% down, which means you have to cut a check.
Right.
So that's what I want to get clarity in my mind. Okay, so let's move on from that. Unless somebody else has something to say.
I guess.
Well, I'd
just-
only say that the worst that could happen is they could fire you.
Mary Ann,
you
you're
know,
the chair. Congratulations.
Yeah, if it was me, as long as I'm responsible and, they got mad a little bit at the PV Palooza because they blew their budget.
Oh, big time.
So, yeah, and so, I think as long as you try and keep it down to a dull roar, everybody loves the town picnic. And what are they going to do? Say, be the Grinch who stole Christmas? I mean, I don't, I wouldn't worry about it if it was me, but I'm that kind of
Yeah,
person.
PV Palooza didn't do
What's
it.
the percent of inflation? I mean, they've got to be realistic to some extent.
Dave, what were you gonna say?
Is Zasta Tots does Zasta Tots make money or lose money?
Makes me.
Yeah, so let me just say that I think they may have, their financial system may have shown that it was, it was less than the budget, but that it didn't make money. But I think frankly, they lose track of some of the money.
Okay. So there's that, and then we could probably turn the trivia nights and other things
Yeah.
into moneymakers if we had to as well.
I think we can charge an entry fee.
Yeah,
and-
like-
And just be self-funding.
Yeah, or
Not-
like
not
cut it
the
even, or like
Yeah,
lose
Yeah.
$1,000 or lose $100, lose some very nominal amount. So and I guess what's the budget for what's the line item for the picnic generally?
So this is what we spent.
20,000?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the vast majority of our 24,000 budget.
So, yeah, this is, last year, sorry, let me make sure. So last year we spent about 20,000. We spent another 6,000 on Zot. So last year we spent about 26,000, but we had 3,000 in Zot's entrance fees. So
So you spent 6 on Zots?
we
So you only
spent
got
6 on Zot.
3,000?
but we netted 3,400, so you have to subtract that out. And
But we still lost.
We still lost money on
We
Zot.
still-
Well, no, actually, we didn't. They literally can't keep track of their money.
Oh, okay.
This is
So
being
you think this 3440 is,
But, and this has happened multiple times. There was other payment money provided to the town. It's not in that number. I know what that number is. That's only the number that comes through the online registration. Right? But there is same day registration as well. And others that was provided to the town. And I don't know where they, put it, but I can tell you it's in line with even what happens in the user fees because they do not cash checks for like 6 months or even a couple years, right? So it was just, it's there in the town. It just isn't getting put on the accounting line correctly.
okay, so this is roughly, you can see roughly where we spend our money on both the town picnic and Zots. Harry, can you see this? So the biggest line item is the rentals, which is the thing you gotta book the quickest and it needs 50% down.
Rentals for the
tables,
Stuff?
tables, chairs, the cabanas for the committees and the,
This might be small, but every little bit might help. Given that the town inside Community Hall has quite a few tables, and you can use them in Community Hall, maybe there's a way that they'll be more flexible about using them out on the field.
I've asked them every year,
But maybe this year,
maybe
it's
with the
worth
budget,
asking
maybe,
again.
maybe with the, but they say it like ruins them and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know, it's fair, it's a fair comment,
We
yes.
should,
if it's a bulk of the budget,
It's
it is
the-
something to consider.
are we picking the budget or not?
Sure,
Just because the finish line inflatable timer, which were awesome, by the way, should be under Justin talks about it.
it should be, but, so those are non-repeating, we've got those stored, so,
Oh, those are one-time fees.
no, these are, I'm saying they will
We
not
own them.
repeat next year, we own them, we have
We own
them.
No.
But you're right, they should be in ZOTS, sorry.
And they're super good to have.
Yeah, I think we still need to work on the finish line, but,
Really?
oh, it's, yeah, there were near misses. There was almost accidents last year. So we need to resolve the finish line. Anyway,
Just the bike part of it?
primarily,
I was on that corner.
yeah. Okay, so we need to get started on the town picnic and ZOTS. I guess the discussion is, kind of what we work on, any suggestions on the budget, any changes that people think we might want to make for the picnic or the race.
Everything has been satisfactory the way it was. I see it as realistic to say it's basically going to be the same amount plus a small percent. And if we just go that way, how can anybody complain about presenting that? I mean, everything has gone up.
Yeah, I mean, well, we could do things like we had a band last year. Do we need a band again? I mean, there are things that we can think about if we really had to, come down.
If it brings people in, and you see what happens at the picnics and the Thursday nights, it draws in the town. At some point, I think this is not an area that you save because this is for the community. There might be
Very
other
well,
areas.
yeah, very well
that we can
attended.
cut
It's-
back.
Yeah, I mean, we could go down in the inflatables. I mean, there are things that we could do, but I agree with you, Carrie. I wouldn't
No.
like slash it.
If it's 100% successful, I would go down.
Well, I do have a question on the band, and I'm not an expert on this at all, but I know that, did they play the whole time? for the
No,
picnic?
they only played for 2 hours,
Well,
11, 12 to
John
12 to 2.
Badger told me for EV Palooza, each musician got $100, or $100 or $200. So when I hear that number and I look at that number, something seems, there's a discrepancy. So I wonder if we could find a band that would be willing
There's,
to play for less.
This is Dana Breen's son. Not, I didn't mean that offensively. I just,
I can talk to you.
well, you know what? I got the list of bands from John last year. You're welcome to talk,
I
to
mean,
him.
I'm offering, but you're welcome to check.
No,
it
no,
out.
no,
I'm
no,
just
no, no.
saying, that's what he said.
I,
so-
yeah.
Yes.
Dave,
I don't. Was Palooza different because another entity was providing all the electronics, all the
I don't-
amplification and all that, and so the bands didn't have to provide that or something, I don't know. And just the last band that played on the soccer field at PD Palooza was excellent.
who was it?
I don't know, I know they're the last band
The
that
one
played
that
on the soccer
played in
field.
the dark,
Who is
because they
awesome.
were way behind.
Okay, so what's
I don't know,
the
it's
biggest
different from the dog.
expense next to the band?
No, the band is, the biggest expense is the rentals. The next biggest expense is the inflatables. On the. Petting zoo, kind of, the next three. Kids love the petting zoo and the kids love the inflatables, you know.
Yeah. So, and if the town is not willing to cooperate about the tables and chairs, present that to them and say, you know what? If you're cutting this back, maybe those tables, somebody can wipe off the legs if you think of that brass on. You have a staff that can do that.
So Karen offered to go
Yes.
take care of the band. I will accept that offer. I mean, just talk to John.
Conversation.
Karen's gonna sing.
Okay, so this is what I've heard. I'm gonna talk to John Badger to better understand what bands we might be able to get for what amount of money.
Okay,
And I'm gonna take Dave's recommendation that the last band that played on the soccer field was really good.
Yes.
Okay,
Here to help.
okay.
they were all local bands.
Yeah, it doesn't help, does it?
No, that's okay. They have an event list. I can go back and
Yeah.
look on the PV forum. That's not a problem.
I know my daughter commented that like there's one of the substitute teachers at CMS was.
Okay, any other items on the town picnic? Otherwise, I think, I want to talk to Sarah. Heard comments for everybody, try and keep it where it is, but be prudent. We're gonna, look into the band. John, anything you want to mention on Zots or the town picnic?
Well, my view of the town picnic is the show must go on. And I think $20,000 is a good deal. So I wouldn't try to, if there's money to be saved, $1,000 here or there, that's great. We should do it. But, it's a great event and I don't think we should detract from it. Let's put it that way. On Zots to Tots, I think, again, I don't think the accounting is quite right. It's pretty close to break even. We could do a little less on the trophies and medals, but I think people like that. And the other big expense is the hats or the shirts and the basket. My thought this year is that my question actually for people, we were doing shirts for forever. People then kind of didn't really like the cotton shirts or people stopped wearing them. So we did hats, which was 1,000,000 times easier to plan and to distribute there. So we could do hats again, probably just do a different color or something. But my thought is maybe to try something, just do something different yet again and come back to hats, possibly and maybe do either water bottles with, Zots to Tots on it or something different. I don't know if people have a view of that, if they really feel like it should be
I
hats.
feel like there's gonna be water bottles scattered all around town.
Sure,
Yeah, I think we talked about this last year, John. I have a whole closet full of water bottles that I
yeah.
never even use.
But at least they're out there and you see them. But the hats, I'm not sure how many people actually, are wearing them. And same with the t-shirts, right?
I wear mine all the time.
I just saw.
Carrie wears hers all the time.
Okay. All right, so you want to do hats again? I can just pick, it was like blue and yellow last time. I can pick just a different design. But if you think that's good, we'll do that. I was just trying to figure out, it's the biggest part of the planning, frankly. The t-shirts were, it really took quite a bit because you needed to come up with a design. Then you had to order, you needed to get sizes.
Right, we need a
Just-
design.
And sizes.
Yeah, yeah.
For hats, you don't need
No,
sizes.
right.
There were
Do you
two
wanna-
separate.
That's the beauty of hats is you don't have the size.
How about visors instead of hats? If
Do you
wanna
hear
change it,
Carrie's
if you
Yep,
wanna
yep.
change it,
visors?
you could.
Just be a variation on the hats. So I said we could do a different hat design. It could be visors. Be interesting.
Is there a way to do a design on the hats?
It gets a little more expensive, right? So, again, you can see there were about 400 people, right? And so, you can see it's about $4,000,
Yeah,
$10 each. Doesn't leave a lot of room, frankly.
okay,
And when you're ordering 400, you can get them for $10 each. But even the t-shirts, it's kind of close when you the more custom stuff you do.
Okay.
That's why it just, just simply saying Portola Valley Zots to Tots 2022, we could get that
okay.
at that cost.
What do you think about increasing the entry fee
We can, it's, was it 15? It's like something like 20 for a couple, 20, so it's somewhere between $10 and $15 a person. That's why it's kind of break even, or close to break even. We could raise it a bit. I don't want to, I don't want that to be a barrier to people participating is my only concern.
Well,
$5, I don't know, it'd be okay.
I think we should hold this for the next meeting. We know basically
No,
we're
but
gonna at least spend
Carrie, it
20.
it takes a long time to get this stuff done, and we only meet once a month, and this is the only time we can discuss.
But we're
it.
talking about hats. Do hats have to be, John, this soon?
I would normally get it started right about now.
Yeah,
you know,
if it,
But I think we should figure that it's going to be the same amount.
Oh, for sure. In terms of the cost,
Yeah.
Cost.
I think
Well, the
so.
only thing I would consider raising the entrance fee on is that, we're getting more and more people every year, and it's getting almost to the point of unmanageability. Almost, I'm not saying, we got a problem with the street closures, which we're gonna have again this year.
Mhm.
We got a problem with the finish line. And you got 400 people jammed into the starting line, which John is trying to manage. I mean, if we raise it and it takes maybe 50 or 60 people out of it, we're still gonna have 400 people, is my guess.
There's no question you add another $5 or $10. I don't think it's going to take out a whole lot of people. You don't want it to be. So do you have the numbers there? I can't even exactly remember how much it was for an individual. It was like, maybe it was a little more. $20.
I don't think I have it
It was
now.
like $45 for a family. And it was like 45 and 30 for a couple, 20 for an individual. That's what it was. And so, yeah, we could, make it 25. It's more also a matter of how people feel about it, right? It's like, are they, what exactly are they getting? If they use the hat or the shirt, then they're probably feeling okay about it.
They
Other
get a
than,
bliss pop at the end.
right. So if that's what people think, I mean, again, we could just, you could easily raise it $5, across the board.
I don't think anybody out here cannot afford an increase of $5.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think I don't think it would hurt personally.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a couple of $1,000. It'd be helpful. Okay, so again, I'll put that into the plan to say another $5. Is $5 okay? I think, instead of being 20, it's $25. I think we need to go more than that.
Yeah,
And then,
we'll put creep on them for every
and,
year.
and really to promote, the families coming in. The deal for the families.
I think we should charge for horses this year.
yeah. And then
We had
it
horses
sounds like
last
people, it sounds like people still like doing the hats versus some alternative to that. There's the only other things besides water bottles or things like bandanas or maybe little packs, but I'm not sure how much they cost. The hiking little ones, but it sounds
I'd stick with hats. I
Hats,
vote
okay.
hats again.
okay.
Yeah, hats or visors.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, anything else we need?
Are we, no, how'd the traffic control work? We were happy with the traffic
Here.
control,
No.
same
All the
horrible
pictures,
as always,
finish.
nothing to change.
Well, the big thing, of course, is I think we need to keep going with the street closure, right?
Yeah.
That was, obviously, you were in the middle of that. It's, it's a
We
big deal doing that, especially because, it's mostly the communication. People
Yeah.
know how much you communicate. There's still people saying, I have to get to the airport,
I have to get to a funeral. That was the worst. a few years
I
ago.
know.
I only had one person at my end, Westridge and Portola Road. And he was a curmudgeon to start with. But he was held there literally 4 minutes because I looked at my clock to make sure. So if we give enough notice to people, go over the hill and go out the other way.
You're gonna always get
Yes.
somebody who.
So I wouldn't worry about one person at a very busy area, which is Westbridge. And
Yeah,
so,
there were
I
some
would say it
glitches
wasn't a
that-
problem.
there were some glitches I think we can, every year, I think we do a little bit better. For instance, we were thinking people could go up the hill and around and then out, but then they shut down the out part. So all the bicyclists that went up the steep hill instead of their normal route found out the hard way that they couldn't get out the way they were planning. So there's just some things we need to work out there. But anyway, I think it'll get better every year. I kind of caught a handful of things there that we just need to look at. I'm sure Patty and Bill at the finish line did as well.
Yeah, the finish line needs some work.
So this is not related to that, but people have also been asking me when the town picnic is. And once we get the approval from Sarah, I think that we should get it out in the forum and on, a save the date kind of thing, so people plan around it.
Is it later this year?
It's
It looks like
It's always
the
around
same weekend,
mid-September.
because it's the same.
It might be earlier. When do we, because wasn't there an issues not only with the Stanford football games, but I thought there was something that pushed it back further.
Oh, I thought it was this.
Okay. So no, I guess last year was the same time frame.
Yeah,
2 years ago, it was really late, but
okay, closing down that item of discussion now. Okay, moving on to old business, 5A. The court usage and reservation policy is active. It went active June 1st. Cindy Rowe and I are working out the kinks. There have been kinks. Nothing that I would say is stratospheric. We have posted it everywhere that we can be aware of. There's also sandwich boards over by the tennis courts that have posted the new policy, as well as my name for people who want to sign up for SCETA. I don't know if anybody else has any feedback, but it is active and we are working out the kinks is about what I can say.
So the only thing, I'm familiar with what's going on, and I think that a positive is that we said this was a trial period. And I think that having these trial periods so that people understand there's learning and there may be changes is really good. And just to be emphasizing that we are, doing our best and there may be adjustments, but I think having it be a trial period was a really good thing.
what are the nature of the kinks?
I don't know if you want a laundry list. I mean, the biggest one has been tennis players showing up when it's their time to play and there's pickleball players on the court and they're reluctant to kick the pickleball players off, even though they know they have priority. So that's just more training, communication, visibility, awareness. We've worked up a system where if you're waiting, you can put your tennis, I want to say paddle, racket in a place, and we've alerted the pickleball players that means that they need to vacate the court. So that actually has been the biggest one.
Yeah.
There's a few things with SCETA that I'm working through that we decided on something and actually SCETA doesn't have that capability. So we're adjusting that way, but I would say those are the biggest.
Mm-hmm. And I think what we're learning is that tennis players are coming out to play, because a lot of people felt like tennis players weren't using the courts, but they are. So I think we need to be, very cognizant of that fact and make sure that we're providing equity.
Okay, that's really all I have to say on that, unless there's any other questions or comments. Right. Okay, 5B. I think I put out a note. I forget who I put the note out to, but I probably couldn't put it out to the whole committee.
I got it.
Did you
because-
get it? Did I send it to everybody? No, I think I just sent it to you.
really
Alaret? Adaret? Adaray?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Howard,
Howard. Okay.
yeah.
So as everybody remembers, Adaray came to last month's meeting and made a request to upgrade the playground equipment to accommodate for younger ages. I talked to Howard about that, and two things. Howard asked us to go back and talk to the original committee that designed the Little People's Playground, because there was some discussion about putting playground equipment in for younger ages, and a conscious decision was made not to do that. I mean, he just asked us to understand what that conversation was and what the reasons were. So I have reached out to Sally Ann Rice because he told me she was the right person. I haven't heard back from her. So I will follow up on that. The other thing he mentioned is that he's reached out to the landscape architect who originally designed the Little People's Playground, because playground equipment is highly regulated and licensed by the state. A lot of safety things you have to keep in mind. You have to have certain distances between certain equipment, certain materials on the ground. So the fact that people come in and say, oh, there's room to put equipment here, may or may not be the case. So the landscape architect, Howard has reached out to the landscape architect, and he's going to give us some feedback on, you know, what the next steps might be there to evaluate what that would look like. So those are the two things that are happening. In the meantime, I just wanted to document that I did get a request from someone in the community to accommodate Little People's Park to be available for non-residents for reservations. I didn't realize it was, I didn't even realize you could reserve it, but I guess you can.
Oh, for parties?
For a party. And there's a person from outside the community. She was Menlo Park, actually, not Ladera, and asked that we consider opening it up. Now, I don't know if that's our decision or, but I just thought I would mention it because it came to me.
Well, how about all the other rentals we have? Don't they go through the town?
If someone wants to reserve something, yes,
So I don't think that's
probably not.
personally. Why add another? The town knows.
I mean, this ties to the issue of are we catering just to Portola Valley property, or are we inclusive of everybody? This ties to the pickleball situation. I mean, there's a lot of things. So I think, but I think that it should be, my personal, we keep saying this, it needs to be consistent. We need to have consistency. And if we're not running, maybe that's the only thing we rent out. Well, like community hall has certain things it's rented for, and I don't know if non-residents can rent it out.
But that's
actually.
not our committee. That goes to the town hall, because they're the ones that, because I've rented the Redwood Grove for years, and I had to go through the town. I didn't come to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I think it definitely is the town decision. I
Right.
guess what
And there's a charge
the
for
question,
it.
yeah, there is. The question should be, do we have an opinion on it, and do we want to make a request that maybe the town should consider opening this up?
The recommendation would save you, if that's what you like, by saying we're making a request to the council, but it would take it off our back too. And that's what I'm saying. Do we want to take on one more controversial conversation when we're really not involved? I mean, we're not the ones that are charging. We're not the ones making the reservation. So, I mean, how much do we want to get involved in?
A good question.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So anyway, for whatever.
Anybody have any strong feelings one way or the other?
I didn't even know that you could rent that.
Evidently you can.
Did you know that we could?
I think there needs to be consistency, whatever it is, and I'm hesitant to say this, but I'm also concerned about. We just talked about the limited space that we have, and that's just the concern is as if we keep having more and more limitations on our space, is that a benefit to the residents. I guess that's the way I would.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean,
Question.
yeah, I personally don't feel strong enough to go to the town and say, hey, you need to open this up.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that big of an issue. I've heard, you
No,
know,
because then you are making it difficult for town members that are. No, I hear what Karen's saying, because, yeah.
Yeah.
Let them, I have a friend that wanted something from our town. And I said, I can't tell you who to go to. I would suggest you go to the town and talk to somebody in the office. And she did. And it had to do with renting a pickleball court for a birthday party. So it turned out she did not do it because the town said we don't do that. And so she went to the Circus Club, which she is a member of. So that made sense. But I don't want us to get into renting our town when we all say we don't have enough room for who we've got. And I mean, I don't mean I'm trying to be exclusive. It's let's be practical. You can only fit so many people here.
well, and I think Karen's right. If we have a policy for who takes lessons and who cannot take lessons, then it should be the same policy for who can reserve and who can't reserve, right? That's what you're saying, kind of.
I think that's what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
well, it's about reserving. I mean, the policy, like of the community hall, whatever can happens at community hall, I think it should be consistent with the park.
Oh, you're saying that the community hall rents out to outsiders?
I don't know. I'm saying I don't know. I'm just saying that to me, there should be a consistency in our policies. It doesn't make sense to have one policy for one town-owned.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize
Site.
that our town rents out the hall.
We're saying we don't know.
We
We
don't
don't
know. Well, yeah.
Well, we definitely do, and we also do it for the fields. So you can reserve the soccer field or the baseball field as an individual to throw a party, right? We do not do that for non-residents.
Okay, so that it's being consistent throughout all those rental policies.
Yep, okay, I understand that. Okay,
We don't reserve the fields to individuals that are not residents.
yeah. For leagues that are not open.
We allow leagues that are not residents.
Yeah, but for private party kind of.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what I mean,
Yeah.
the individuals.
Yeah.
It will be expensive.
Okay, are we done there? 5C, discuss charging PV pickleball league fees. So I had a conversation with Cindy and Tom Capola, don't know the name,
Mhm.
who runs most of the men's leagues in town. And he was not thrilled with the idea having to pay for something that he's using. Actually, I shouldn't say that. He acknowledged that there probably should be some level that he should pay. So now it's in the negotiation, right? Anyway, he came up with, the league has 3 seasons a year. Each season lasts about 3 or 4 months. There's 6 brackets, 6 to 7 teams, 32 players in total. So you've got 32 players. You've got 3 seasons. Each team typically plays 5. Okay, so those are kind of the most relevant.
What are their seasons? Do they correspond with like the fall, spring, summer seasons that the other fields use?
He says each season lasts 3 to 4 months, so I don't know. He didn't say on here which
Okay. It's a
season is
little bit,
which.
yeah, I guess it's a little different than the fields because we take the winter off on the fields.
They probably take the winter off in pickleball too
No, they
because of
don't.
rain.
Okay, I don't think it's relevant.
So some of those numbers didn't make sense to me. I was under the impression there were 4 seasons, but I don't know, but if there's 7 teams and he said there's 32 players,
Mhm.
I think there's like 8 on a team. So maybe he's saying some of the players are on more than one team.
Well, he says PB currently has about 32 players across 6 teams. Would that mean that there's non-PB players that make up the difference, or? I
I don't
didn't,
know.
I didn't get a chance to quiz him on this.
Which is
Anyway, what he talked, sorry, David, just let me finish here. What he talked about was something that John, you've talked about in softball, which is, well, not every player plays every match. So if you charge per player, maybe some players are only playing 3 matches and somebody else is playing 32. So that's not fair. Well, to your point, we have the same issue in softball, right? Everybody plays the same, but they might only play 1 game a year,
Right.
right? So that's kind of an argument where we've been down that road before and we've just said, sorry, you guys need to figure it out.
Right.
The other thing you could do is you could just charge a fee per season and let them charge, their players however they see fit.
Well, USTA tennis does, if you sign up for a league or a season, you pay the amount whether you play once or you play 20
Yeah,
times.
yeah, I
Comes
agree,
off.
yeah.
Wow. Gets too complicated.
Anyway, I think there's more work to do. I'm happy to take this on with Tom and just continue the conversation. If there are other ideas or inputs.
The only comment I'd make is just that we already have a court application. If you look at, I'm trying to pull it up to try to check the seasons and all of that, but the actual application says field and court application, right? As if, there's already a way to, apply for the courts.
I
And so
don't-
just- right,
Does it actually on the form have the courts on there?
it says court, that's the title of it, right?
I know.
So I'm trying to find it again real quick
It's
here.
tough
but-
because now it's all online when you try to fill it out. You have to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what kind of tripped me up here, but
This is Town Fields?
This one?
No, the next one.
John, do you know the name of the pickleball league site, that Mark Emerson runs?
yeah, I have it in my bookmarks here.
That'll give us the information that we need, I think, of the seasons.
Is this it, John?
That's it. And then you have to.
Yeah. So this is this is part of it. This is what I found this, but there's a few other pages, and so this one doesn't seem to have the seasons on it as an example. But actually, if you go to the top, let's just look at this one though. This is fees for use town fields, tennis, all sports court, right?
Have you
So
seen that?
at the very top, the title.
Oh, yeah.
So this is why I say there's actually already a policy. The issue is just that when you go down the left-hand side, or more so the examples, we didn't have a pickleball league,
No, we don't. We don't have the tennis courts on here.
right? So what this really though is local organized adult leagues, right? And so those two you're looking at happen to be the two I run. So I'm very familiar with this. And I actually think that's what they're doing. They're because right, it's a, and I can explain the difference in a league and a club, but that Portola Valley Soccer Club, for instance, is the men's team, and then difference between a club and a league is that the leagues play each other, and everybody should be a Portola Valley resident or within the league. So both sides are paying user fees. Clubs invite other clubs to come in and play against you. This is the difference being, by the way, what Mark Emerson does and what's happening mostly at the town center. But we should decide whether they're a club or a league, and you can see there's a significant difference between what we charge, right? $62 versus $93.
Well, they definitely bring in teams from other cities, right, Karen?
Yes, and that's why if John gives us the name of the site, which I can't remember, we can look that, you can see what's up there.
So the hard line is to be like, hey, it's $93 a pop.
Right? We've been paying it. By the way, it's a huge issue
Sure.
for us.
No, they would be a local organized adult club.
Yeah,
$93.
$90, $93.
Yep.
Thank you,
And
Ross.
you
Is
can go
that
talk
per
to-
season?
That's per person per season.
So there's
Yes.
3 seasons, so it'd be 3 times 9, 200.
$2,700.
Did he say 3 or 4 seasons?
3.
Right, 30 times 9
93 times 3
Yeah, the question is whether his seasons.
times the person
per person.
per, right, times 32
32, yeah,
at least.
yeah.
So the question is whether his seasons correspond with the PV field seasons. So there'd be that, and then there's just a general question is, do we feel that it's fair, equitable, whatever, for the courts to be charged at the same rate that the fields, the natural grass irrigated fields are charged?
Well, if I was him, I would
Yeah.
make a point that you don't have to water, maintain.
You don't have to mow, but you do have to
Have to
buy
mow.
ball nets. keep them
For
secure.
maintenance of the court.
You also need to have a
Fixed cost.
certificate of insurance.
Yeah,
Well, John can help him do that.
Right, but I'm just saying that,
He is-
yeah.
So it's-
John, do you have the name of that or the URL for that?
Yeah, not yet. Sorry, I'm just trying to click through and we'll follow at the same time. Let
Okay,
me, why don't you kind of keep going and if I find it here, I will let you know.
Mary Ann, have you changed your mind yet? See, I told you to, maybe you wouldn't want to listen. Oh, that's right, it's apply online, you gotta apply.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's on my phone. Anyway, I'll find this, but keep going. I just remembered where it is.
Where is this that I can look this up?
It's on the town website. Just search for like field fees or something like that.
if you go to Parks and Rec, on down the left side, it will,
You know, you're
it's
sure.
there.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I'm not gonna go through this right
Yeah.
now, so, okay, so I guess we have more work to do here. Yes,
You want to delegate this?
Hey, can I just say this to Karen while I'm looking at this? Karen, look this up. It's called Peninsula Interclub Pickleball.com. So all of that was all one word. Peninsula
can you,
Interclub Pickleball.com. See if that gets you what you are looking for.
that's what I'm thinking about.
Peninsula,
What's the names?
Pickleball.com, that's it.
Peninsula,
Peninsula Interclub Pickleball.com.
right, all one string, one word.
Peninsula
Club,
Intra,
Inter,
Sure.
INTER, Club, Pickleball.
there it is. I would love to delegate this, if I'm hearing any volunteers.
Yeah, that was-
What am I looking for on
Can you
here?
share the site?
Yeah,
There should have the seasons and the matches, I thought was on there,
yeah, but we don't, well,
just so you go up to the top. Is there no
Schedule.
tabs? There we go. So schedule. So this season's June 4th through September 3rd. That was,
Are we the-
was up at the
Are
very
we the
top.
PV Wildcats?
Or anything that says PV on it, so, and the home, so PVTC, PV Rockers. There's all these PV Wildcats, PV
PV
Trailblazers, all of those are where they host.
Now, are those clubs or leagues again?
We're thinking they're
Teams.
clubs because they're playing teams from other cities.
State clubs.
Wait, clubs is for Portola Valley residents.
No, leagues.
Leagues is for Portola Valley.
Yeah.
Clubs or.
Well, they both need to be
If you-
Portola Valley residents. The question is who they're playing against. Like,
If
for
you
instance,
make it synonymous with how we look at clubs and leagues for soccer and softball.
Right.
Then that's how you would define it. A club is Portola Valley, a league is other towns.
yeah, so it's, you know, softball, all the teams are all Portola Valley people and they play against each other. Right, and the men's soccer league,
Season 5.
teams from other cities.
Okay, that's,
I don't know what season 5 means, but.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, well,
But the
that's- that's
season
bigger
is
than 3 or
June,
4.
June 4th to September 3rd.
That's effectively
But I
that's the summer softball season.
I was under the impression there were 4 seasons. I could be wrong.
Okay, well,
The question is whether there's a winter, right?
Yeah,
There's
that's the big
definitely
question.
spring, fall,
well,
and summer.
and maybe they decide not to play in all 4. I don't know.
Well, the issue is in the fields are closed in the winter, right? So now we're talking about courts. So the only question is whether there is a 4th season.
Yeah, but the courts can be closed with the rainy season if we get enough rain, so.
Well, they reschedule the matches is what happens.
It
There's
should
like-
line up with whatever their seasons are anyway. They have seasons, right?
Right.
It says season 5 right
Yeah.
there.
Okay, well,
Right.
let me take the action. I'm gonna spend some time with Tom. I didn't have a chance to do that before this meeting. What?
Oh, I just wanted to, I'll do it on my own time. I wanted to take a harder look at what the other venues were. Like what, like how is Alpine Hills doing it? Just some member is sponsoring the team and so they're allowed to play, or is it just like a?
Alpine
they have
Hills,
their
remember
team and-
Alpine Hills has members that pay a monthly fee to belong there and use
Yeah.
the courts.
Right,
But also I believe that there's a fee per season. I can check on that.
right.
John, do you know?
Do they just?
If you
I never
have a-
asked what it is, but it did
I think
move.
it's like, sorry,
I don't know what the fee, I know Mark set it up with him where originally he was just hoping just to use it and reserve through their standard system, but now he's like an instructor. You know how they have instructors for, for their
Oh.
facilities.
Okay,
Right.
so that's how it gets the necessary guest passes or whatever to,
no,
Right.
I think that there might be a per member team fee. So if you
Right.
join a team, you pay like $25.
But he does, he charges the players.
Yeah,
For sure. The thing of and it's going to be very, very low. I went through this whole thing because he needed to get insurance and all of that. So I went, I know Mark well, who runs it. The difference though is just that there's no referees, there's no umpires, the equipment, everybody brings their own stuff, right? There's no field lining. So it is going to just be much, much lower. And I do think we need to kind of consider that when we think about what we're going to charge them. Right, because there's no question maintenance costs are very, very different. There is maintenance costs, not just cleaning it and everything, but they have to resurface it every once in a while. But nonetheless, it's, in the difference between $25 per season they're charging right now, something in that range versus 130, which really needs to be more like 150, and the youth are much, much, much higher than that. Right, so you can kind of barely pull off. For instance, for me, $62, is a lot. It's half of it's about half the costs, right? Just the user fees. But that's why here maybe, it feels like something closer to $25 per player per season would work, or maybe is 50, I don't know. It's a tricky thing we need to work through.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is more work. We got some people who are gonna go off and get a little bit more information. Let's bring it back next month, put it back on the agenda. Agreed?
Who'd asked if somebody should we parse it out or? No, okay.
Do you want it done sooner? Is that why you'd like it subcommitted?
I don't see any rush on it. I mean,
No,
I
okay.
mean, I wouldn't mind working with you on it, but I'm not gonna take it on. But the thing that I'm confused about is how can I can't compare Ladera, Alpine to our town. Because Alpine, as you say, members are paying every month
yeah,
a nice fee.
everything's different.
And here, we're not paying for the maintenance of the, well, I guess we are with our taxes to some extent, right? It's for the fields and
okay.
it's here.
Yeah, that was.
Okay,
Okay,
let's forget it.
all right. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. I'm conscious of people's time here. Just another request that came in. Someone wanted to hold private lessons on the courts. We do that? I don't know if we do that. Do they sign up for a court fee? We didn't have court fees on that other page. Do they pay us a percent of what they pay the coach? Does anybody know? Does anybody care?
I do.
I do.
I don't know what our policy
Come
is,
up
John. Do
multiple
you know what our
times.
policy is?
You know, I can't remember where we left off, but I do know that there was a time when we were saying we didn't want people doing that, reserving it with just for individual private lessons. I don't know if we have a policy. Yeah, I don't think there's anything right now. But I do think it can be a little bit controversial where you start having individual coaches just reserving the court or whatever for lessons. So
But if,
go ahead, Dave.
just to be devil's advocate, like if they're using their 1 hour of
2 hours. I get
2 hours of per period and they're chart and that's their, like, they're not getting any special consideration for blocks of time, then do we care if their buddy pays them $80 an hour to teach them pickleball during that 2 hours per?
But are they reserving the time? Because then they would need to be paying for it.
They need to have insurance in that. I mean, there's a whole lot of things to that. Plus, I think that the intent of these fields is not to be used for commercial purposes, but I could be wrong on that. I
Well, we
know
just talked about leagues, so.
Well, yeah, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a
the
different
answer to that.
commercial. So,
Yeah.
Well, to me, it's like having an office that you don't pay for. Using our club, our town, and yet you're getting paid.
yeah.
And you have none of the responsibility.
Oh, okay. Is the coach a town resident?
I don't
Like,
think
what
it
if I
matters
wanted
one
to-
way or another.
I mean, actually, I'll give her credibility that she asked the question. You could go out there and do it and nobody would
No
know.
one would know
Yeah, there's like,
what to say.
there's certainly people I know who do like,
That was done in the past, though, when people have been asked basically kind of shoot off for doing that, having private lessons. Anyway, so it's been discouraged in the past. The counter is that's Alpine Strikers have paid coaches, right? It's not like Little League or even the adult leagues where maybe you're paying referees, but in Little League, it's all volunteer, right? So it's a very different thing than when now you're running a business on it, right? The closest that comes to that is the youth club soccer.
yeah, that's a great analogy.
Well, also, I would say that the class through the town, like a pickleball class through the town, they've registered and they're paying a fee for it and they have insurance. And then, they're teaching there. So I liken it to something like that. So it would seem to me that they have to go through the town and go through all those hoops. Then it would be offered through the town and it wouldn't be private lessons of
Right. By the way,
one person.
that's actually how
courts on
pickleball, that's actually how pickleball, I think even still is, isn't Mia and
And they,
Aren't they basically like teachers? Aren't they instructors? I don't- I
yeah, they
think-
are. Well, for the town sponsored classes, yes.
So they have town sponsored classes. See, that's the difference though, right?
That's what
Here's,
Karen is saying, yeah.
right. So whether it's in the classroom, but they have them on the courts is my point too.
Yes,
Right.
they do. Yeah.
So that's the way they would have to do it. They have to go through the town.
Okay, all right, I will.
So, okay. Just a very small enrollment in their course.
No, no, they're full every time.
No,
No, he's
this
saying
is-
if it's a private
It's a private lesson,
instructor.
they have a very small enrollment. The private instructor.
I don't think they'll get approved. I think they need to go through the town. I think that kind of use is approved.
Okay. The town.
Yep.
Okay, 5D, any updates on our good old dog park?
I'm gonna present some things here, propose some things.
Whoa,
So we've made very little progress in finding a site that is suitable by everybody that's on our committee, and our committee has conservation, Patty and I representing Parks and Rec, and John Silver, who is looking for a space really for a really social.
he represents the road group.
The road, if you will, and the ones that are meeting at the schools. And we came to, the sites that we looked at, I'm going to quickly go through, were the little area next to the courts over, that under the oak trees kind of there. Spring Down, which is off the table because it's open space with it's deed restricted. Dorothy Ford Park with the assumption, well, if we're going to develop it anyway, maybe for a while it could be a dog park because doesn't seem to be treated as open space by the town anymore. And we even looked at El Mirador, which is property behind the town center, which would be ideal, but that's going to be tied up in an estate for a long time and it's not town-owned property anyway. So and no site is perfect. And I would like to suggest a couple things as I was thinking about this. Number one, I think we should survey the residents. And instead of us as a little subcommittee trying to figure out what's right, is to really listen to the residents and get the feedback there and see what we find out. And somebody on the committee suggested we find a private landowner that is willing to do the dog park. That was the suggestion that came up, which I said, great idea. Who do you have in mind? But number one, I'm not opposed to putting a survey out to see how many people really want this, and all of that, to really listen to the residents and see if we can get some sort of consensus. The other thing, just like we did with the pickleball, is we're having a trial run with this new policy. Could we find a site where we could try something out and learn from it and decide, are people using it? How much maintenance is required? And it would have to be with temporary fencing. And the only two sites that I can think of, and I'm open to all suggestions, are the area next to the pickleball courts, which the biggest concern was from the equestrian community because it's near the path. Or Dorothy Ford Park, which, and I understand this point of view, which is it's dedicated open space and we shouldn't treat it as anything other than dedicated open space. So I'm just and I said, you know what, I want to talk to the Parks and Rec committee about this and get some input. So those were my two things. Should we do a survey or should we look at a trial?
Should we? Hurts me to ask to volunteer this, but do we trial it in the baseball outfield? The temporary fence to keep the dogs out of the infield, but trial it, because that's the kind of the cheapest trial. If we did it in the summer, then there's no baseball
Well,
on the
there's
field in the summer.
adult softball.
No, not at Ford Field.
Oh, you're talking about Ford Field,
So
sorry.
the Ford Field proper, the baseball.
The actual
field.
baseball field.
But keep it but fence them out of the infield so the dogs don't destroy the infield, because that would be.
So that's by the parking lot?
No, the
outfield,
actual, yeah, the actual
outfield.
outfield.
The grass field.
Certainly convenient.
Oh, it's fenced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easily
Except
more
for the
easily
infield.
fenced.
Right now, I just see a small community over here at the town,
Yeah,
and they seem to be very happy. So when you say you'd like to ask more people in the community what they think, I would think they'd be down here with the others.
Well, so the
The
issue
small
here
is
is
down
that,
here.
number one, being down here on the fields, there's a lot of other activity that goes on. We talked about, I think you might not have been at the meeting where we talked about multi-use, because you'd be using it for baseball and also the dog park. And what Menlo Park does have that at Nealon, and they allow dog owners there in the morning for a certain amount of time, and then they turn the sprinklers on and they get everybody off and they do maintenance of the baseball park.
they do.
Well, they turn the sprinklers on and mow the lawn,
Oh, okay.
and you know, they have that going on.
They
So
allow
that
them on the infield. They have the.
They do.
they let them everywhere, and they said that the dogs dig holes.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal for a sports field.
Yeah.
And it also isn't open, you know, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah,
exclusively for dogs.
Yeah.
Or, you know, dogs and
Now
their
with little
owners.
children, you can't have as many here. And they do come, the dog people come early in the morning, between 8:30 and 9.
it's the road group. The thing I do and I don't like the idea of a survey. The thing I don't like about it is a survey that tends to attract the people who want to respond anyway. Right, so we get all the positive, I would think, all the positive responses, and of course, we want a dog park. You know, and it might depend on the questions we ask. I mean, it doesn't hurt to take a survey at all. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I do like the trial, but I like the idea of the Little League. Because I just don't think the Conservation Committee will go for any kind of trial on any of open space. That's my opinion.
Okay, any,
No, I agree, because we had that issue once before.
Yeah, we're done.
okay, what about members of the public?
No. I would not.
Non-voting members of the committee.
Yeah.
This is to get input. This is-
Yep, I mean, the funny thing is, there's this, I don't know how reasonable it is, but like up at the El Ladera Rec, there's this fenced up, it's somewhat hilly area, but it is unused, and I think the rec owns it. I've talked to Bob about it a little bit. I mean, that's what I thought once I get onto this group, and if this dog park's still an open possibility.
It'll be open for a long time.
Yeah, it's to the right when you're approaching the rec center, and it was used for kids to kind of ride their bikes up and over the hills. So you'd have to have a little bit of work done, but it's not being used. Like, right, I don't even see kids riding bikes in there anymore. So again, that would be, Patty, like a true collaboration thing. We'd have to see if that's something that, but getting it out of the, you know, the areas like the open space, you know, and into something like that, it might be more feasible. I don't know. I don't know.
You have your first job.
John, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, if we talk about open space, if we're down at Dorothy Ford Park, the other place is Springdown, which we were never allowed to use. But every time I go by there, I look at it and go, that would be perfect. It's
Yeah.
Deed restricted. Deed
And
restricted.
the
Can't do it.
conservation has said it is completely off the table.
I know they said that 10 years ago, and they said it 20 years ago, right? So that's why, and I'm sure they'll say it about every open space. And so actually, let me tell you my real kind of view is that we have currently a don't ask, don't tell policy in Portola Valley, right? It is, what's happening is illegal, frankly, because you know, you have to let dogs off leash, you have to have them in a fenced area, and clearly the town is just looking the other way. And as long as they do that and they say, go ahead and let your dogs run on the soccer fields and on the baseball fields, we're not going to end up with a dog park, right? Not the one that, you know, we would need large enough and fenced in, right? So we you know we can still continue to try to experiment, I'll say, with something like, I do think the advantage of Ford Field baseball field is that it is largely already fenced in, right? You have a permanent outfield fence that goes all the way down the side, and the only openings are at the dugouts, right?
There's the maintenance out in the left field corner for the mowers coming in. There's a gate there.
Yeah, so
It's a gate.
So it's a gate.
Yeah,
I'll say it's 90% there, right, or more. At Town Center, first of all, I don't think any of the soccer, I don't think the soccer fields will work. That you just can't fence them in. You can use that temporary fencing and try to add to it or the softball field, but I'm not sure that's even what we want there in the Town Center, that much even temporary fencing, right? So that's why I think if we want to try to experiment, first of all, in the short term and have something, it would be Ford Field, but that's actually, Dave, that's kind of more in your area, because Little League, I mean, the only people that would really object to it, I would think, would be Little League, because they're the only users of the field.
there's fall ball there. I mean, when.
That's why I'm saying we just trial it in the summer.
Mhm.
Okay, well,
You can work around the schedule. We know when the fields, and by the way, that's the way it works now. I get calls from John Silver that says, when are the fields available? Right? I'm like, well, they're never available for you. Let's start there, because
Yeah.
have dogs run around off leash, but I can tell you when we're playing and when we're not playing, right? So there's no, like, now the fields are closed, the soccer fields are closed for the summer, and so they're going to end up, that group will end up on the soccer field for summer, given that Corte Madera and Armandale fields are closed for construction still.
and they're gonna be closed all summer. By the
They're gonna
way,
be at
they're redoing them completely, so.
So they're gonna be
um,
down at the town center all summer.
Yeah, they will be at the town center.
How far does the town property go away from Portola Road behind the soccer field, do you know?
Oh,
It has
right,
a soccer field.
that's El Mirador.
Right, but like how far past that path that's kind of up the hill above the
Yeah,
bleachers?
that's it. That's why but that would be an ideal property.
No, sorry, but like two sides of the soccer field are fenced. Right? The side
No,
by the parking lot and the side by the Redwood Grove are both fenced.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
So like if we put a fence like along the long sideline by the bleachers,
no,
like could we enclose the bleachers, or do we not even technically own that land?
no, beyond the bleachers.
Right? Do
We
we, how
could
far
put a
past
fence
the
back
bleachers?
there. We could put a fence, but not, I mean, then now you're talking about that space behind the bleachers, right? That open, whatever that is.
No, I'm talking about enclosing the soccer field and turning the soccer field into a multi-use dog park.
So you'd have to put the fence along between the soccer field and the softball field.
Yeah, along the path.
So one of the main concerns that conservation has is the migration of animals, and fencing anything in prevents that migration of wildlife. So,
Have it be the specified 4-inch opening, 4 foot tall.
right, it would be that temporary fencing, but I'm just sharing with you the
Yeah,
input
sorry.
that we're getting, so everybody's sort of up to speed. Now, one can argue, like with Ford, it's already fenced, so the animals go around it. They do learn how to migrate a certain way. Anyway,
That's,
I wanted to open it up for discussion here because we're not making a lot of progress in the subcommittee.
My fear is, it continues to be that unless we come up with a solution that accommodates the comfort that the road group has now, that nothing will work. Because it's right across the street from Dana, and that's where she takes her dog. And I'm not picking on Dana, she's just one,
Dan's
Person.
really not a part of that.
isn't she? Okay, well, so John Silver, I mean, wherever John goes, everybody else is gonna go. So, and it's very convenient for them to go to Corte Madera or the town center. So unless we come up with something like the town says, stop it. Not anymore. We're going to bring the sheriff in. It's not allowed. Unless you do something that redirects them to whatever solution we come up with. It's not gonna work, in my humble opinion. And that may be the trial, but except the trial would only be in the morning, and they meet morning and afternoon, right? So then they'd still meet somewhere in the
And
afternoon.
trials give you permission.
Well, the other thing is there's, you know, there's more than, okay, so actually I'm gonna back up just so. The Johnson group, and there's actually a big group of people that meet between 8:30 and 9 at the town center.
Yeah,
In fact,
sure.
somebody told me who was playing pickleball, they were shocked at the number of dogs that were running around on the field. And that after they left, a maintenance worker came and picked up a bunch of remains, which shouldn't happen at all.
No.
So
See, that's where the
that's a
town should
different-
come in and
that's a-
say,
That's the town that's kind of looking the other way, but that's a different group. So there's really two groups.
okay,
There's a
that's
group
fair. That's
in the
fair.
morning town center, and then there's this afternoon group.
Yeah.
Um,
I was there this morning and there were probably about 20 dogs and 20 people at the town center on the softball field. And for some reason, the town lets them on the softball field. They don't like them on the soccer field. They don't understand that either, but that seems to be the position that's been taken. I think they're going to be on the soccer field too, the afternoon group, but the morning group is on the softball field.
Yeah, last night for my practice, they were on the softball and then they moved to soccer once our practice started.
Hey, can I go back to just the experimenting with Ford Field? Because Dave, I really think that the only people that would really object is Little League. And so the question is, can we try an experiment? It would be
Oh,
whether it's just in the summer or even after that. It's, you know, Little League never uses it in the morning, right? So it's just purely, you know, and again, it's so enclosed, I'm not even sure we need to do anything. It may just be, we say, that's good enough, right? It's enclosed enough, because it's only the openings to the dugout and that one gate. And, you know, what we would learn is, well, how much do they trash the field, right? How bad is it for you guys? And I don't, because it wouldn't interfere with use of the field. Anytime Little League wanted the field, you would have it, right? We'd say,
Yeah,
so the only question is, what's it like to have dogs run around you know, baseball field officially? I mean, it's already happening, right? We're playing softball now and they're using our field every day.
yeah.
That's true.
So anyway, and the only other thing, it's not ideal for the dog groups because it's down, you know, the edge of town. That's why they like the town center, right? Because it's the center.
But there's parking there.
Yep.
There's trash cans.
There's not a bathroom.
no, there's a bathroom.
Yeah, but these are,
Well, it's a bath,
There's
it's
an
better,
outhouse.
it's an outhouse.
There's a facility on premises.
The dogs don't care. What do you,
Well,
yeah.
and
It's not gonna be
Dave,
so
what I'm
tough.
hearing you say is if we'd have to put some sort of netting up so the dogs stay off the infield.
I think it would be nice if we did. I've been there. I've been at fields where if the infield gets wet and then a heavy dog comes in, you have these huge.
No,
like,
and they dig, if they dig holes,
if
yeah.
there's- Yeah,
That's true. That's true in the town center, and it's not actually. It's bad, and it's worse in the town center because I don't think you have the same type of dirt in the infield in Ford Field than you do at the town center, right? At the
Yeah.
town center, you have that clay. I don't know. Everything turns orange,
yeah.
right? Including the dogs. You know, when they're running around in there, and I don't think that happens at Ford Field.
well, I
So
put some of the onus on that on the owners and just say they can't
Yeah,
dig.
keep
And if they
digging.
keep digging, then we're gonna stop the trial.
I haven't seen that be a problem actually, where they're digging up the infield.
Yeah,
We try to put up a fence in the summer, but
that was never a problem at Neon
Right.
either. Like I haven't, when I was having the practices at Neon, there wasn't a big deal. The digging, like the outfield was a mess, but the infield was fine.
but that would be the experiment. Let's find out how bad it is. And frankly, you know, you might have to deal with it a little bit, but the real onus is on the maintenance guys, right?
I was gonna say, we definitely need to talk to Howard.
Yeah, and it's Justin mostly, actually. I don't know if you guys know Justin well, but I deal with him all the time. So he's, you know, the kind of the lead on that team. And, you know, we can ask him what he thinks, but I think mostly, you know, they'll tell us how much of an issue it is for them. But it feels like a really easy and fast experiment. You know, say, let's just start. And
When
When do we have to stop it to give the field enough time to recover in case things go poorly?
I don't know. Yeah, we can ask Justin how long he thinks would take him to get that kind of setback. But I don't, you know, I don't think it's not as big. I mean, it's no different than Gophers or other things. I think they'll be able to fix it quickly.
Okay.
Offhand, right?
Okay.
Those guys do a great job.
Then
on
do,
I can't stay for 5 more. I have to leave.
Okay.
So,
This is a major discussion because it could go on forever.
Yeah.
About the dog park.
Well, it's an important
I
discussion.
know, but maybe there should be just a meeting just for that.
Well, we have a subcommittee working on it. And Karen's trying to get the input from the committee so she can move forward. So.
so I hear a lot of, perhaps support, even though it may be
no, I think it's like.
tentative,
it's
but
the-
but to try
It's
Ford
real.
Baseball Park. But I'd love for Mary Ann to go back and look at this Ladera alternative as well. And again, if there's, and Mary Ann also, I wondered if have you ever used a baseball field? Have you ever gone somewhere where it's been a dog park? You said that you go to Mountain View and you've gone to some other places where you've done that.
Yeah, the only baseball field I've been to with my dog is this town center. The others are like we're proposing where it's a dog park fully. It's, you know, typically there's, whether it's turf and some type of gravel, or in Mountain View, it's like all this gravel. They have, you know, dog, you know, fountains that are low to the ground so the dogs can get water, and just, you know, a picnic table with some benches. Super simple, you know, but they have, you know, they have a little area where you walk through the gate so that you have an in-between, where you've been to the dog parks where you don't just walk right into a gate. There's a
area where you can take the
smaller
leash
area,
off.
right? Yes.
Yeah, safety area, yeah.
And some of them, the one I go to in Mountain View that's way out by the Baylands is there's a small dog area and a large dog area, which
Yeah, we
works
talked
out
about doing
really
that too.
great, really great, you know.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, my battery's running low, so that's,
So
we gotta,
needs to talk to Howard and even pose that idea about Ford baseball field.
Mm.
Does that have to go through? I've been
think it has
told
to go
that
through
things
the
have to go
chair,
through the
yeah.
chair. Sorry, Patty, but if there's something that we can do, or Dave, if do you need to talk to someone at Little League, or?
I don't need to, but we should
You probably-
probably
Yeah,
give them a heads up that, hey, we're considering this.
okay.
I don't want to text her at 9:30.
No, but maybe
Might as
we should
well.
talk to Howard and Justin first, and then,
Okay.
yeah,
that's fine.
let's find out what the town says first.
okay,
Do you
I
wanna
will.
do that, or do you want me to just text her in the morning? By her, I mean the president of Alpine Lowell.
Morning's fine.
Okay.
But do you think he should do it before you talk to
before-
Howard?
I can know what they,
Yeah,
What they
whether
think,
how much,
okay.
how much of a stick.
I mean, if they say
Right.
no, effing way,
Yeah, we're gonna raise it big for Fluffle.
yeah.
Mhm.
All right,
Okay,
gotta try something.
gotta try something.
Mhm.
All right, maybe the rest of these will go a little fast. I have not, John, heard anything from the guy on the skateboard ramp. He
Okay.
never got back to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's now been a while where we haven't had one and you don't hear a whole lot. I thought it was a nice thing for years.
Nobody said anything that I've heard of.
Right, so we could just let it go now, especially given that we might need that space for pickleball and other things.
I think we're gonna need court 3.
And can we put on the agenda for next month? Repainting and revisiting more courts? Like an additional pickleball court or.
Like,
tennis
you're
court?
talking court number 3?
Well, talk about court number 3 and potentially what it would take for court number 4
Oh,
or 5.
wow. You really want to take that on?
Well, I think we need to revisit it because I think it was discussed and it was.
I think the battery ran out.
I bet you're right. Well, I heard updates on the dog park. That was very important.
Maybe that's how it should always be, where there's just a time limit and it just disconnects.
Not a bad idea.
I'm gonna take them up on this and assume that that's the meeting.
That's it.
All right, welcome to the committee.
Yeah, pleasure meeting with you. It'll be interesting and fun, hopefully.
Lots to do.
You have a
Excellent.
good week.
All right, you too. Bye.
Hi, John. Bye.